Are you ready to uncover the lost stories of old America? Let's dive into history, one picture at a time. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up. This image features two historic photographs of the Flatiron Building in New York City. From 1902, the left side captures the structure during its construction, while the right shows the completed building. Known for its triangular shape, the Flatiron was one of the city's earliest steel-frame skyscrapers and remains a legendary architectural landmark in Manhattan's busy urban scene. Here we see a rare moment from 1949 snowfall in Los Angeles. This historic weather event covered the city's streets, houses, and cars with a layer of snow. With the San Gabriel Mountains in the backdrop, the typically warm and sunny LA was transformed into a surreal winter wonderland. This black and white photo shows one of the very first McDonald's restaurants from the 1950s. It was a simple stand featuring a bold sign advertising 15-cent hamburgers. With its retro design, minimal seating, and vintage signage, it reflects the fast food chain's humble beginnings long before it became a global icon. Captured here is a bustling Seattle street intersection from the 1930s or 1940s. Pedestrians cross in every direction while vintage cars make their way along tram tracks. The image offers a clear view of the fashion, infrastructure, and vibrant energy that defined urban life in that era. This early 1900s black and white photo highlights a vintage Coca-Cola delivery truck loaded with glass bottles. Two delivery men sit proudly atop the old vehicle, which has large wooden wheels and bold Coca-Cola branding. It's a glimpse into the company's early distribution efforts and the beginnings of modern beverage advertising. Shown here is a remarkable aerial photo from 1944. The rooftop of a Boeing factory in Seattle, cleverly disguised as a fake town to protect it from Japanese air raids during World War II. Roads, houses, and trees were built atop the roof to fool enemy reconnaissance and shield the aircraft production facility hidden below. This 1947 anti-communist propaganda comic book reflects America's Cold War anxieties. The dramatic cover shows chaos and destruction, warning of a potential communist takeover, while the inside panels portray sinister plots to control the media. It was created to stir awareness and fear during a tense political time. These images feature vintage Sears mail-order homes sold between the 1910s and 1940s. Customers could order home kits that included all necessary materials and blueprints. These prefabricated homes came in various styles and were an affordable, innovative way for families to build personalized houses across the country. This colorful photograph from the 1960s captures the charm of Atlantic City's iconic boardwalk before the casino era. Grand hotels like the Marlboro Blenheim stand tall with ornate architecture, while storefronts and strolling visitors reflect a time when the city was a glamorous seaside destination on the East Coast. This striking black and white photo offers a powerful look into 1930s Los Angeles. Industrial workers sit on a curb during a break, dressed in worn clothes and overalls, smoking and chatting. Behind them, a crowd gathers under a makeshift shelter, highlighting the struggles and everyday realities of the era. It's all about the deep connection between a mama and her kids. It's a vibe that hits home for everyone, no matter where you're from. Back in the 1920s, Spain was going through some serious changes socially and economically. Photographer Arissa had a way of capturing the raw, everyday life of regular folks. In this frame, the mother's all about care, love, and strength, while the kids, their innocence, hope, and full-on trust, real emotional depth right there. Now check this out, two Apsarogue Native Americans riding horseback outside of Tepeyac in snowy Montana, 1908. This one's a straight-up window into the traditional life of the Crow Nation. These folks were known for their insane horsemanship and warrior ways. By that time, the U.S. was messing with their culture heavy. But this photo, it's a bold reminder of their heritage, their resilience, and how deeply they rolled with nature. Total respect. Boom, here's Barcelona, 1955 by Ramon Massats. This shot catches the soul of the city in the middle of a serious transformation. Ramon was the king of documentary-style photo vibes, always keeping it real. Spain was still shaking off the effects of the Civil War, and his photos showed people just trying to live, survive, and keep that spirit strong. This is Barcelona in its rawest form. Now this next one's straight out of early 1900s. Amsterdam, and man, it's intense. Horses were everything back then: transport, work, all of it. In this scene, you've got folks banding together, trying to save a horse from icy canal water. You can feel the urgency. It's more than just a rescue. It's about how tight the bond was between humans and animals, and how folks showed up for each other when it mattered. Jump to August 23rd, 1965. We're in Nailsworth, Gloucestershire, and this image captures one of the final rides on Britain's rural rail lines. These trains were getting chopped left and right thanks to the beaching cuts. This photo, it's nostalgia on rails, marking the end of an era and reminding us just how much things were shifting in the UK's transport game. Next up, Gabriel Akhijian delivers a stunner. You've got the Great Pyramids of Giza lined up perfectly with a solar eclipse on August 30th, 1905. The dude was a beast at shooting Egypt's heritage. And this one? It's straight up cosmic magic. Ancient power meets space wonder. It's like history and the universe high-fiving each other in one perfect frame. Let's rewind to 1927. The future Queen Elizabeth II being carried up the steps of Balmoral Castle. Talk about a royal throwback. Baby Lizzie was just a year old and nowhere near the crown yet. Her uncle Edward VIII was still next up. Balmoral Castle? That was the royal fam's chill spot in Scotland. This snap's more than cute. It's a sweet glimpse into the early days of someone who'd go on to become Britain's longest reigning queen. Yo, peep this, a wooden roller coaster in Edinburgh 1900. This pic's got old school thrill written all over it. Back then, these rides were the new hype wooden beasts that brought the buzz to the local fairgrounds. Edinburgh brought that blend of classic vibes and excitement. The rides all bones and bravery, handcrafted. No tech, just straight up daredevil fun. Wild times. Dorothea Lange knew how to freeze moments that spoke volumes. This 1952 snap from San Francisco is pure love and grit, a mother and child, just locked into each other's world. Lange was all about family, struggle, and strength. Post-war America was moving fast, but this quiet bond, it still shines. It's one of those shots that makes you pause and breathe. And finally, check out this battery-powered scooter from way back in 1918. Yeah, you heard that right, 1918, and they were already dabbling with electric rides. Right after WW, folks were on that innovation grind. This scooter had a chunky battery, basic setup, and was meant for quick city commutes. It might look old school now, but it paved the way for all the slick e-scooters cruising around today. Straight up trailblazer. This vibrant photograph captures the energy of a busy Los Angeles street scene, somewhere between the 1940s and 1960s. You'll spot classic cars cruising by, vintage billboards towering above, and that sleek mid-century architecture lining the streets. This haunting image reveals the harsh reality of New York City in the 1970s. Burnt out, abandoned cars line crumbling streets, while rundown buildings add to the mood of urban decay. At the heart of the photo, a child stands alone in the wreckage, an image of lost innocence surrounded by neglect, symbolizing the deep economic struggles and social crises of that time. These powerful portraits capture the raw emotion of immigrants arriving in the U.S. during the early 20th century. Exhausted faces, hopeful eyes, and well-worn belongings reflect the bravery, hardship, and determination of families chasing a better life in a new land. Together, they represent the early spirit of the American dream. These striking photos show off the bold, flashy zoot suit fashion of the 1930s and 1940s. Oversized jackets, baggy trousers, and slicked back hair. It was more than a style. For minority youth, it stood for cultural pride and defiance. But it also sparked controversy, leading to the racially charged zoot suit riots, exposing deep-seated tensions in wartime America. These candid moments, captured by legendary photographer Arthur S. Siegel in 1940s Michigan, offer a beautiful glimpse into everyday American life. Workers taking a quick drink, young people strolling through summer streets, and a man completely absorbed in his designs. Siegel's lens reveals the quiet strength, simplicity, and determination of a generation shaped by war, labor, and ambition. A lone cowboy sits tall on his horse, decked out in full gear with ropes, chaps, and grit. Set against a wide-open frontier landscape, this vintage shot from the late 1800s captures the rugged, independent spirit of the American West, a life closely tied to the land and the values of freedom, survival, and hard work. This historic photo takes us straight into the revolutionary Ford assembly line, where Model T cars are being pumped out with incredible precision. Shot during the 1910s or 1920s, it captures the birth of modern manufacturing, a system that transformed the auto industry and made cars affordable for the everyday American. It was a turning point that forever changed the way the world moved. These captivating vintage photos showcase some of the grandest American buildings that once stood proud but have since been lost to time. From majestic train stations to stunning government buildings, these structures represent a time of intricate design and architectural ambition tragically torn down in the name of progress and modern urban development. This striking photograph captures the raw, everyday reality of street life in late 1800s New York City. A rugged man and a market woman stand shoulder to shoulder, surrounded by fresh produce and weathered stone walls. It's gritty, it's authentic, and it tells a powerful story of resilience, community, and the hardworking heart of the city's common people. This dramatic image shows the aftermath of a tragic moment in 1945 when a B-25 Mitchell bomber accidentally crashed into the Empire State Building due to heavy fog. The impact sparked a massive fire and left a gaping hole in the skyscraper. The crash claimed 14 lives and left behind haunting scenes of destruction. In 1929, the mighty Graf Zeppelin cruised low over Chicago, casting a giant shadow across the skyline. People on the streets stopped, stunned, watching this floating titan drift through their city. During World War I, the Harlem Hellfighters, an all-black regiment, earned global respect with unmatched courage on the battlefield. Even as they faced discrimination back home, their bravery still echoes today. Believe it or not, Hitler's own nephew, William Stewart Houston, defected to the US, joined the Navy, and fought against his uncle's regime. History truly knows how to twist the plot. After the Great Chicago Fire of 1871, all that remained were smoldering ruins and scorched bricks. But from that devastation, a stronger, bolder Chicago would rise from the ashes. On board the USS Brooklyn in 1896, sailors trained and drilled aboard one of the Navy's toughest ships. It was discipline, grit, and steel all on display. Before it was torn down in 1963, New York's original Penn Station was a masterpiece of architecture. Massive archways, marble floors, and a sense of grandeur you just don't see anymore. A haunting portrait of Robert McGee tells a chilling story. A young man scalped in 1864 who lived on with visible scars and a lifetime of survival etched into his face. In the 1940s, Chicago's rail yards were booming with life locomotives huffing steam, men in overalls working tracks, all captured in brilliant Kodachrome by Jack Delano. At Fort Knox in 1942, tank crews trained for war climbing into armored beasts, pushing through drills, sweating through their gear, prepping for the front lines of World War II. In the 1970s, NASA looked to the stars and imagined massive space colonies orbiting Earth, housing tens of thousands. It was bold, futuristic, and just maybe, within reach. Photographer Jack Delano captured a young man's journey from civilian to soldier. The discipline, the transformation, the purpose, it was all there, frame by frame. From 1906 to 1917, workers carved through rock and earth to build the Catskill Aqueduct, a feat of engineering that brought clean mountain water into New York City's beating heart. In Vermont, 1941, the Rutland State Fair lit up with carnival rides, livestock competitions, and smiling families. It was small-town America at its most colorful right before the world would change forever. Photographer Terry Eiler visited a Native American reservation in 1972 and captured real, unfiltered life from school children and families to homes and ceremonies. No stereotypes, just truth. One grainy black and white image from 1966 changed everything. Taken from Lunar Orbiter 1, it showed Earth rising over the moon's horizon. For the first time, we saw our home from space. Portland once boasted the Forestry Building, a colossal log cabin-style hall built for the 1905 Lewis Clark Exposition. It stood proud and grand until fire brought it to the ground. In 1910, New York streets swelled with holiday shoppers. No traffic signals, just carriages, crowds, and chaos. Retail madness in the Big Apple isn't new, it just used to wear hats. Astronauts in the 1960s had to prep for more than space. Jungle survival, desert navigation, you name it. NASA made sure if they came down in the wrong place, they'd survive. The ironworkers who built the Empire State Building? Legends. No harnesses, no fear, just balancing on narrow beams, hundreds of feet in the air, turning a dream into a skyline. And in Seattle, between 1905 and 1930, they didn't just build a city, they reshaped it. Hills were leveled, streets rerouted. It was urban planning on a massive scale. Before she became the unstoppable music legend we all know, a young Tina Turner was already lighting up the stage in the late 1950s. Known as the Queen of Rock and Roll, these vintage images show her transformation across the decades. Raw, powerful, and iconic. Her energy wasn't just heard, it was seen and felt. Back in the 1930s, cars were fast, but safety wasn't. These haunting photographs capture real car wrecks from a time before seatbelts and airbags were standard. The twisted metal and broken glass reveal just how dangerous early driving really was, and how far we've come. In 1995, NASA ran a bizarre experiment. They gave spiders drugs. Yes, spiders. From caffeine to LSD, they wanted to see how the drugs would affect web building. The results? Strange, disorganized webs that looked nothing like nature intended. A small but powerful look into how chemicals affect the brain. From 1902 to 1912, Alexander Graham Bell, yes, the telephone guy, turned his attention to the skies. He built huge geometric kites made from hundreds of tiny triangles. These bizarre-looking contraptions were part of his dream to unlock the future of aviation. Now meet Ralph "Tex" Madsen, the tallest cowboy in history. Standing over 7 feet tall, he was a real-life Western legend in the 1920s and 30s. Just his presence alone could fill a room, or a prairie. Wallace G. Levison spent the late 1800s wandering the streets of New York City with a camera in hand. His photographs are like a time machine to the Gilded Age, where horse-drawn carriages, top hats, and crowded sidewalks told the story of a booming city. Imagine moving an entire house with horses. Between 1890 and 1910, before cranes or trucks existed, people literally rolled homes down the street using teams of horses and wooden logs. It was slow, risky, and genius all at once. During the Great Depression, homeless Americans built entire towns out of scrap metal and wood. They called them Hoovervilles, named after President Hoover, who many blame for the crisis. These haunting images tell a story of survival, struggle, and the human spirit. In 1943, behind barbed wire in the California desert, thousands of innocent Japanese Americans were held in internment camps. One of those camps was Manzanar. These photos show families trying to maintain dignity and life under unjust conditions, a dark reminder of what fear can do. Between 1908 and 1924, newsies, child newspaper sellers, lined the streets of America's biggest cities. These kids worked long hours for pennies, often in bare feet, and sometimes sparked strikes demanding fair pay. Their portraits reveal tired eyes and untold strength. New York City. Summers between 1930 and 1960 had a special kind of magic. Public swimming pools were community hubs, kids splashing, families relaxing, and neighborhoods cooling off together. These photos capture more than recreation. They show joy in the heart of the city. Las Vegas in the 1960s and 70s, it was pure electricity. Neon lights, casino crowds, showgirls, and swagger filled the streets. These striking images freeze a golden era when Vegas became the city that never slept and never stopped dazzling. During World War I, something unbelievable happened. A real German U-boat, submarine, and military tanks were dragged into Central Park, New York, as part of a public war bond campaign. It was surreal, theatrical, and a bold PR move to rally support. In 1903, prison officials were shocked when the two inmates, Will and William West, arrived at the same time with nearly identical names and faces. Confusion followed, until fingerprinting was introduced to tell them apart. That moment changed the criminal justice system forever. On January 28, 1986, millions of Americans watched the Challenger space shuttle lift off live on TV, only to witness the unthinkable. Just 73 seconds into flight, the shuttle exploded, killing all 7 astronauts on board. It was a moment of heartbreak and reflection for a nation. In 1863, 2 children named Isaac and Rosa were photographed shortly after being freed from slavery in New Orleans. Their image became a symbol for abolitionists, a quiet yet powerful argument against racism and a call for justice in human form. Coney Island, in the 1940s, was more than just roller coasters and hot dogs. These rare color photos bring to life the energy of boardwalk summers, packed beaches, and laughter echoing over the Atlantic breeze. It was America's playground, and it was unforgettable. In 1938, photographer Ben Shahn walked the streets of London, Ohio, not England, on a simple Saturday. His camera captured real faces, real storefronts, and real stories. No grand events, just the beautiful rhythm of small-town American life during the Great Depression. That famous Hollywood sign? It started as Hollywoodland back in 1924. These old photos trace its journey from a real estate ad to the global symbol of movies, stars, and fame. Weathered, iconic, and always watching over Tinseltown. And finally, life in space. In the 1970s, NASA launched Skylab, America's first space station. These photos show astronauts floating weightless, eating meals in orbit, and conducting experiments above Earth. It was the beginning of something far bigger than any one mission.
High above New York City, this striking image captures the World Trade Center's North Tower under construction, showcasing towering cranes and steel beams rising skyward during the ambitious build between 1966 and 1979. Dressed in their Sunday best, a group of African-American children wait in line outside a theater in Chicago's South Side, 1941, capturing a moment of innocence amidst racial segregation. This provocative Wood-era American propaganda poster warns soldiers about the hidden threat of venereal diseases, using bold imagery and messaging to promote caution and health awareness among military personnel. An elderly woman and a young girl stand side by side, their faces marked by worry and hardship, capturing the emotional toll and desperation faced by families during the Great Depression. A determined woman uses high-pressure equipment to clean a massive locomotive, showcasing the critical role women played in maintaining railroad infrastructure during World War II, keeping America's war machinery moving efficiently. Adventurous drivers bundled in heavy gear prepare vintage cars for an epic international journey, as crowds gather to witness the daring 1908 race from New York to Paris across the treacherous terrain. A group of well-dressed men, women, and children pose confidently atop the precarious Umbrella Rock on Lookout Mountain, capturing a popular and daring tradition in Tennessee during the late 19th century. Dorothy Counts walks with quiet strength through a hostile crowd of white students, facing jeers and intimidation on her first day at an all-white school, symbolizing courage during America's civil rights struggle. In a desperate moment during the fall of Saigon, U.S. military personnel pushed helicopters off aircraft carriers to free space for fleeing evacuees, capturing the chaos and urgency of war's end.
This powerful photo captures one of the most intense moments in modern American history. President George W. Bush, seated in a Florida classroom on the morning of September 11, 2001, is informed that America is under attack. A whisper in his ear changes everything. It marks the beginning of a national crisis that would redefine foreign policy, reshape national security, and forever alter the American psyche. Back in the 1930s, rare photographs from San Francisco show the construction of one of the most iconic landmarks in the United States, the Golden Gate Bridge. Suspended hundreds of feet above the bay, daring workers balance on steel beams, harnessing engineering brilliance and raw bravery to reshape the skyline. It's not just the birth of a bridge, it's a symbol of progress during the darkest years of the Great Depression. From 1906 to 1911, colorized portraits of immigrants arriving at Ellis Island reveal stories of hope, resilience, and diversity. Their traditional clothing, weathered faces, and determined eyes speak of entire worlds left behind and new lives just beginning. These images capture the heart of a country built by those seeking a better future. In 1939, a gritty image documents the brutal work of roughnecks in East Texas oil fields. These men toiled in blistering heat, surrounded by volatile machinery and dangerous conditions, driving the nation's industrial might during a pivotal era of economic expansion. From the heart of the Civil War, haunting 1863 photographs from New Orleans reveal light-skinned enslaved children, used by abolitionists to challenge racial perceptions and show the brutal reach of slavery. Their innocent faces shattered assumptions and brought the horror of human bondage directly into American living rooms. Fast forward to the 1950s, where colorful Tupperware parties became a symbol of post-war prosperity. These social gatherings, hosted by housewives across the country, blended consumerism with community and introduced a new wave of female entrepreneurship during a time when traditional gender roles were beginning to shift. In 1962, a single rare photo captures President John F. Kennedy and Marilyn Monroe together, shortly after her sultry Happy Birthday performance. It was the only moment ever recorded of them in the same frame, yet it ignited decades of rumors, speculation, and fascination. Between 1860 and 1930, photographs of fearless cowgirls from the American West show women who broke the mold, riding broncos, herding cattle, and defying every expectation placed on them. These pioneers stood shoulder to shoulder with men, carving out a place in a rugged world that rarely made room for them. On October 19, 1987, chaos gripped global markets as Black Monday unfolded. In one day, financial systems spiraled into crisis. Images from Wall Street show traders in panic, governments scrambling, and a worldwide economic shift that would leave permanent scars on investor confidence. From 1870 to 1920, photographs of visitors to America's newly designated national parks show the wonder and awe of discovering untouched natural beauty. These early tourists in formal clothes and wide eyes helped build momentum for a movement that would prioritize environmental preservation for generations to come. During the Civil War between 1861 and 1864, massive ironclad warships roamed American waters, armored vessels that brought unprecedented firepower to battle and forever changed the face of naval warfare. In 1942, as the world burned, Americans at home rallied together. Scrap metal drives saw citizens donating pots, pans, bikes, anything metallic, to be melted down and turned into tanks, ships, and weapons. These homefront heroes played a vital role in fueling victory. That same year, photographs of Pennsylvania coal miners show another kind of sacrifice. Deep beneath the surface, in dust and danger, they worked tirelessly to power wartime industries. Faces blackened, backs bent, but spirits unbroken. In Central Park, also in 1942, forgotten photographs capture peaceful Sunday scenes. Families lounging on the grass, lovers strolling, children playing. While the world was at war, these moments offered a brief, beautiful escape. Dreamy photochrome prints from the early 1900s reveal a vibrant, growing New York City. Horse-drawn carriages and streetcars share busy roads, early skyscrapers rise skyward, and life buzzes with the electricity of a city stepping boldly into the 20th century. In the 1960s, Apollo astronauts trained for lunar missions in Arizona's rugged deserts. These rare images show them practicing geology, suiting up, and testing survival gear, preparing for a journey that would forever change humanity's place in the universe. When news of the D-Day invasion broke in 1944, photographs captured a city gripped by emotion. New Yorkers crowded around radios and newspapers, hearts filled with fear, pride, in the hope that the tide of war might finally turn. From 1970 to 1990, inside a quiet military lab known as the Natick Soldier System Center, groundbreaking research unfolded. Scientists worked on futuristic gear, survival rations, and wearable tech, trying to redefine what American soldiers could carry and endure on the battlefield. Between 1937 and 1940, bold, optimistic billboards promoted the American way during the Great Depression. Shiny cars, smiling faces, and happy homes stood in stark contrast to the daily struggles of millions, selling dreams in a time of despair. In the 1940s, a small town in Oklahoma, Geary, gave rise to a powerful image. Veterans of 4 different wars, all from the same community. The photo radiates sacrifice, honor, and the deep patriotism of rural America. Finally, between 1932 and 1937, 2 illegal photographs were secretly taken inside the U.S. Supreme Court during live sessions, violating strict bans on photography. These rare, grainy images offer a secret peek inside one of America's most private and powerful institutions. This powerful image from 1863 shows Gordon, an escaped slave from Louisiana. His back is brutally scarred from repeated whippings. When this photograph was published, it became a symbol of the cruelty of slavery and gave the abolitionist movement a horrifying visual to rally behind during the Civil War. In 1941, photographer John Vachon wandered the streets of Chicago, capturing raw, unfiltered moments of everyday life. His photos showed vibrant city streets, working-class people, and an urban atmosphere alive with energy, offering a rare glimpse into America just before it was pulled into World War II. The 1889 Johnstown flood devastated Pennsylvania after a dam collapse unleashed a massive wall of water. Over 2,000 people lost their lives in the chaos. Rare photographs from the aftermath reveal splintered homes, mangled bridges, and communities completely swept away. One of America's deadliest and most heartbreaking disasters. Between 1927 and 1941, the towering granite faces of Mount Rushmore were carved into existence. Rare images from the site show sculptors and laborers working in extreme conditions, dangling from ropes, blasting stone, and slowly transforming a mountain into one of the nation's most iconic landmarks. In 1920, a horse-drawn wagon loaded with explosives detonated on Wall Street, killing 38 people and injuring hundreds more. The attack remains one of the deadliest unsolved acts of violence in American history. Photographs captured moments of chaos, smoke-filled streets, broken windows, and stunned onlookers. In 1977, New York City went dark. A massive blackout plunged the entire city into darkness, triggering widespread looting, arson, and unrest. Striking photos from that night show not just a city without power, but a city teetering on the edge, reflecting the tension and economic struggle of the era. Between 1950 and 1960, a new chapter in American advertising emerged, one that spoke directly to African American audiences. Vintage ads tailored specifically to Black consumers reveal a world of marketing filled with both cultural pride and stark reminders of ongoing segregation and inequality. In 1913, something strange happened. Families began mailing their babies through the U.S. Postal Service. With the new parcel post system in place, some parents literally attached stamps and sent their infants to relatives. As bizarre as it sounds, early photos and records confirm it actually happened. Between 1890 and 1950, photographers documented the last living veterans of the American Civil War. These elderly men, once young soldiers on bloody battlefields, posed in full uniform, living relics of a war that had reshaped the soul of a nation. Between 1908 and 1911, Lewis Hine took his camera into the depths of American industry to expose child labor. He captured haunting images of young boys and girls working in coal mines and factories, photos that shocked the public and fueled sweeping labor reforms. In the 1960s, President Lyndon B. Johnson had a favorite prank. He'd drive unsuspecting guests into a lake in his amphicar, a car that could also float, pretending the brakes had failed. Photos from his Texas ranch show stunned faces and presidential mischief few ever expected. Between 1939 and 1941, A series of deeply human photographs captured the lives of black sharecroppers in the American South. Living under a system built on post-slavery exploitation, these families toiled in poverty, yet their strength, spirit, and dignity shine through every image. In 1949, the world got a glimpse of wearable tech, sort of. The radio hat was a pith helmet with a built-in AM radio. It looked quirky, felt futuristic, and turned heads everywhere. Vintage photos showcase kids beaming with pride as they sported this bizarre gadget. Old photographs from 1949 also capture Muscle Beach in Santa Monica, California. The birthplace of American fitness culture, this stretch of sand was home to bodybuilders, acrobats, and gymnasts showing off their skills to packed crowds beneath the sun. In 1926, the Ku Klux Klan marched openly through Washington, D.C. in a massive parade. The disturbing images show thousands of robed members marching past monuments, demonstrating just how public and accepted their presence had become in certain parts of America. In 1917, German sailors captured during World War I were held in internment camps in North Carolina. Rare photographs show them adapting to life in captivity, gardening, reading, and waiting. These images offer a strange and overlooked view of wartime America. Between 1936 and 1950, American movie theaters were plastered with anti-marijuana posters. Using wild, exaggerated claims, these alarmist ads stoked public fear and moral panic. The sensational artwork and messages helped shape decades of stigma and misguided drug policy. Photos from the 1919 Chicago race riots reveal the terrifying aftermath of one of the deadliest race conflicts in U.S. history. Streets burned, homes destroyed, and people terrorized, all sparked by long-standing racial tension, economic disparity, and segregation. Spring break in the 1980s was a full-blown cultural phenomenon. Photos from the era show sun-drenched beaches packed with partying students, loud music, and neon fashion. It was carefree, wild, and completely unapologetic, capturing the youthful energy of an unforgettable generation. Rare images from the early 1900s preserve the everyday lives and cultural traditions of Native American communities before widespread modernization. These photographs serve as important visual records, showing rituals, dress, and customs passed down through generations. Back between 1902 and 1924, American football looked more like organized chaos than a sport. Images from this violent era show players slamming into each other with barely any protection, no helmets, no pads, just grit and guts. It was raw, brutal, and far from the polished game we know today. In 1947, Florida introduced a unique blend of faith and car culture. You'd pull up in your car, not to a movie theater, but to church. These photos of drive-in churches show worshipers hearing sermons through car speakers, proving America's creativity in combining convenience with spirituality. In 1969, after the Apollo moon landing, NASA took no chances. The astronauts were quarantined just in case they brought back something unknown from the moon. Photos show them behind glass, smiling and waving, as the world watched in awe and caution. In 1949, America experimented with the future of shopping through a retail concept called Kiduzel. It was the first automated store where customers selected items electronically using punch cards. These fascinating images show conveyor belts, light panels, and an attempt to leap into the future of commerce. On March 27, 1964, Alaska was struck by the most powerful earthquake in U.S. history. The Good Friday earthquake devastated cities, crushed buildings, and shattered roads. But the photographs also capture something else: people helping each other, digging through rubble, and refusing to give up. In 1986, Cleveland attempted a world record by releasing 1.5 million balloons into the sky. But what was meant to be a dazzling spectacle ended in tragedy. Balloons clogged the skies, interfered with rescue efforts, and resulted in the loss of 2 lives. The photos from that day show beauty and heartbreak tangled together. Life in 1941 offered a poignant look at the role of the American mother. Photographs show her sewing, cooking, and caring for children while supporting the war effort from the home front. She wasn't just keeping a house, she was holding the family and the nation together. In 1964, The battle for civil rights surged through America's streets. Rare photographs from that year show protesters facing down police, standing tall with signs, and marching for justice. Each image is a powerful reminder of the courage it took to demand equality. In 1971, a small-town high school brought the issue of teen pregnancy out into the open. Candid photos from inside the classroom reveal a new kind of education, one that tackled real-life consequences and social change, breaking taboos in an evolving America. Between 1945 and 1947, engineers undertook the massive construction of the Hughes H-4 Hercules, better known as the Spruce Goose. It was the largest flying boat ever built. Photos document its brief but iconic flight and the scale of ambition that shaped its story. In 1958, Elvis Presley shocked the world by enlisting in the U.S. Army. Cameras captured every moment: his haircut, his departure, and the emotional farewell from fans. The king of rock and roll became a soldier, and America watched every step. The 1964 New York World's Fair was a breathtaking celebration of futuristic dreams. Towering pavilions, space-age designs, and global exhibits fill the photographs from this momentous event. They captured the era's hope for progress, unity, and a better tomorrow. In 1928, Mickey Mouse wasn't quite the beloved character he is today. Early images reveal a rough, mischievous version of Mickey, still finding his form. These sketches and frames trace his journey from oddball animation to international icon. The Statue of Liberty's story stretches from 1875 to the modern day, and photographs capture every phase. From her construction in France to her arrival in New York, and through decades of restoration, she remains a symbol of hope, freedom, and the American dream. In 1919, Boston faced an unexpected disaster, a flood of molasses. When a massive storage tank burst, a sticky wave swept through the streets, killing 21 and injuring many more. The images are surreal: debris coated in syrup, stunned residents waist-deep in sugar. During Prohibition from 1920 to 1933, alcohol was banned, but rebellion thrived. Speakeasies buzzed with secret parties, bootleggers ran hidden routes, and agents cracked down on barrels. The photos show the tension and energy of a country caught between law and desire. The 1960s were an era of technological magic, and inside Bell Labs, the future was being invented. Photographs show massive machines, blinking lights, and focused engineers laying the groundwork for the digital age. It was the birthplace of innovations we use every day. During World War II, a group of Native American Marines developed an unbreakable military code based on the Navajo language. The code talkers served in total secrecy. Their rare photos now honor their incredible bravery and silent contribution to winning the war. From 1949 to 1952, the White House was completely gutted. Photos show its iconic shell standing while the interior was demolished and rebuilt. It was a massive, painstaking effort to preserve a national symbol without tearing it down. And in 1955, Disneyland opened its gates for the first time. Photographs from opening day show crowds in awe, kids wide-eyed with joy, and Walt Disney's vision finally coming to life. It wasn't just a theme park, it was a dream made real. In 1968, as a funeral train moved slowly from New York to Washington, D.C., people stood silently along the tracks. They weren't just watching a train, they were mourning the death of Robert F. Kennedy. Every face in that crowd reflected heartbreak, hope lost in the weight of a nation in grief. A few years later, the DeLorean hit the roads, a car that looked like it had come from the future. Sleek, stainless steel, and unlike anything else on the market. But behind the cool exterior was a storm of financial collapse and legal battles. Still, it found a second life in the Back to the Future movies, becoming a cultural icon that outlived its own reality. In 1967, Detroit erupted. Civil unrest exploded into full-scale riots after years of racial tensions and police violence. Fires raged, soldiers rolled through neighborhoods. It became one of America's most violent uprisings, and the photographs from those days still burn with the pain, anger, and desperation of a city pushed too far. 1995 brought a different kind of frenzy. Lines wrapped around buildings. People waited till midnight, not for a concert or a phone, but for a software launch. Windows 95 wasn't just a tech event. It was a media circus, a pop culture flashpoint that redefined how the world interacted with computers. In 1969, while the world watched the moon landing, few saw the meticulous chaos behind it. Inside NASA, technicians and astronauts prepared for Apollo 11 with precision and pressure. These rare behind-the-scenes photos reveal the human effort, hours, hands, and heart, that made that giant leap possible. Back in 1944, before computers, the FBI's fingerprint system was a monument to manual labor. Towering file cabinets, workers sorting through millions of prints by hand. These photographs show the sheer scale of human effort required to fight crime in an analog age. In 1969, high schools weren't just classrooms. They were catwalks of counterculture. Tie-dye shirts, bell-bottom jeans, fringe jackets, and peace symbols. These outfits weren't just about fashion. They were statements, expressions of rebellion, freedom, and individuality. In 1955, one photo captured the surreal contrast of two ages. A Civil War veteran standing next to a modern jet fighter. One man, two worlds, a reminder of how fast humanity had evolved, from bayonets to bombers, in a single lifetime. A young woman sits at a table in 1944, pen in hand, smiling. She's writing a thank you note to her Navy boyfriend. He'd sent her a souvenir from the Pacific War, the skull of a Japanese soldier. This haunting image exposes the terrifying normalization of violence and the deep psychological damage of war. In the middle of a Klan rally in 1950, a lone African-American man stood tall. Surrounded by hate, he didn't run or shout. He just stood, silent, brave, defiant. One body against a crowd, one moment against a movement. Between 1908 and 1917, cities ran on the energy of boys on bicycles. Known as bike boys or newsboys, these teenage messengers darted through streets with urgent notes, braving traffic and weather. Their grit and speed helped keep early 20th century America connected. In the 1970s and 80s, New York's subway system was a different world. Graffiti-covered cars, dim, flickering lights, crime lurking in shadowed corners. These gritty photos show a city in motion and on the edge. World War I didn't just fight battles overseas, it waged a war of persuasion at home. Between 1914 and 1918, posters were everywhere, urging Americans to enlist, buy bonds, and stay united. With bold art and emotional appeals, they turned patriotism into propaganda. From 1943 to 1945, the 442nd Regimental Combat Team, a unit of Japanese-American soldiers, fought bravely in Europe. While their families faced internment at home, these men became one of the most decorated units of the war. Their courage wasn't just on the battlefield, it was in proving loyalty against all odds. In Cincinnati, from 1874 to 1955, stood a library that looked more like a cathedral. Spiral staircases, towering shelves, soaring ceilings. It was a temple to knowledge until it was demolished. Now only photos remained to show what was lost. By the late 1980s, malls weren't just for shopping. They were hangout spots, cultural hubs, teenage playgrounds, neon signs, food courts, arcade games. These images capture a time when a trip to the mall meant freedom, fun, and growing up. In the 1930s, something sinister unfolded on American soil. The German-American Bund, a pro-Nazi group, held rallies, wore uniforms, waved swastikas. The images are chilling, showing how fascism once took root in quiet corners of the United States. Long before he became president, Ronald Reagan was a familiar face in theaters. Between 1940 and 1960, he acted in films, flashed that trademark smile, and built a charismatic public image. Those early roles shaped the political performer he'd eventually become. One frame from 1942 freezes a heart-wrenching moment. A woman on the edge of a bridge, police trying to pull her back. Her pain, her fear, their desperation, it all unfolds in a single image. A silent scream from a war-weary world. Rare 1942 photo revealed the manual typesetting, crowded newsroom, and roaring presses behind the New York Times. These wartime images capture the energy of journalism during a global crisis and the dedication of those delivering news daily. Photograph from the Korean War show freezing trenches, weary soldiers, and displaced civilians. This image revealed the harsh battlefield realities and political tension that divided a nation and drew global powers into a devastating Cold War-era conflict. A heartbreaking photo shows Colonel Francis Fenton conducting his son's funeral during Okinawa's fierce battle. It's a powerful reminder of the personal costs of war and the unbearable grief borne by military families during World War II. Image chronicled John F. Kennedy's journey from his youth in military service to the presidency and assassination. These rare moments showcase his charisma, leadership, and the enduring impact of one of America's most iconic presidents. Photo of the 1906 San Francisco earthquake capture collapsed buildings, raging fires, and dazed survivors. This disaster reshaped the city, revealing the fragility of urban life and the strength required to rebuild after devastation. Photo from the 1913 Women's Suffrage Parade in Washington, D.C. show bold women demanding the vote. Their banners, courage, and unity made history, marking a turning point in America's long journey toward gender equality and civil rights. From military drills to wartime industry, rare photos show America's mobilization during World War I. These scenes of soldiers, rallies, and civilian life highlight a nation stepping onto the global stage for the first time. Photographer Lewis Hines' powerful images exposed children toiling in factories and fields. His work sparked national outrage, helping to end child labor and shape laws that protected young workers and promoted education over exploitation. Photo of the 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens captured towering ash clouds, destroyed forests, and scorched earth. This dramatic volcanic event stunned the nation and showcased nature's violent, uncontrollable force in stunning detail. Image from the Vietnam War's final years show fierce combat, protests, and the U.S. withdrawal. These powerful photos reflect the chaos, resistance, and deep scars of a conflict that defined an era of American history. Photograph from the early Vietnam War reveals soldiers navigating dense jungles, helicopters overhead, and a war rapidly escalating. These moments mark the beginning of a long, painful conflict with global and domestic consequences. Rare photo capture. Grand Central Terminal's construction, elegant architecture, and bustling commuters. These images reflect New York's transformation into a modern metropolis and the terminal's enduring role in shaping American transportation history. After the Korean War, some American POWs chose to remain in North Korea. Rare images of these men captured public curiosity and controversy during the Cold War, raising questions about loyalty, propaganda, and psychological warfare. Artist Agnes Deans planted a wheat field in downtown Manhattan in 1982. Surrounded by skyscrapers, the installations symbolized hunger, waste, and nature's struggle within urban chaos, a bold commentary on modern priorities and environmental neglect. Photo from the Trinity test on July 16, 1945, show the first nuclear explosion. This historic blast marked the dawn of the atomic age, forever altering warfare, science, and humanity's understanding of destructive power. Civil War photos reveal exhausted soldiers, bloodied fields, and tattered camps. These haunting images show the immense human toll of a divided nation and the grim realities behind one of America's deadliest internal conflicts. The raw brutality and emotional weight of these images reflect a war that carved scars into the American identity. Image from the Civil War's early phase show fresh recruits, anxious commanders, and a nation bracing for war. These photographs document the beginning of tragic conflict that would shape America's future for generations. Photograph from the Pacific Theater show, jungle warfare, island landings, and Allied resilience. From Guadalcanal to Iwo Jima, these images reflect the harsh conditions and heroic efforts that defined the war against Imperial Japan. Rare photo from the American West show, cowboys, Native Americans, settlers, and expanding railroads. These moments capture a rugged frontier transforming under industry, conflict, and the spirit of exploration that shaped the nation's Western identity. The Marine Angel navigates the Chicago River, 1953. Back in 1953, the Marine Angel, a massive 634-foot cargo ship, skillfully made its way through the narrow Chicago River. This impressive moment showed off not just the ship's navigation, but the city's thriving maritime scene and engineering excellence. Vintage Halloween costumes, 1900s, 1950s. These creepy and fascinating Halloween photos from the early to mid-20th century reveal just how creative, and sometimes disturbing, homemade costumes used to be. They reflect the eerie imagination and cultural quirks of the time. Unusual divorce headlines, 1910s, 1920s. Old newspaper clippings from the early 20th century highlight some truly bizarre and even humorous reasons couples split up. These quirky stories give us insight into changing societal norms and the evolving nature of marriage. America's last public execution, 1936. Rainey Bethia's hanging in 1936 was the last public execution in the U.S. The spectacle drew a massive crowd and ignited fierce national debate about the morality of public capital punishment. Atomic tourism in Las Vegas, 1950s. Yes, this really happened. In the 1950s, Las Vegas actually marketed nearby nuclear tests as a tourist attraction. Hotels threw bomb parties where guests could sip cocktails while watching atomic blasts light up the desert sky. Oversized training guns, 1940s, 1960s. To help train military personnel, the U.S. built massive gun replicas, way larger than life. These oversized models helped soldiers understand weapon mechanics safely without the need for live ammunition. Beaver Brook Community Portraits, 1897, 1917. Photographer William Bullard captured stunning portraits of the Beaver Brook community in Massachusetts, many of them people of color. His work offers a rare, intimate look into a vibrant but often overlooked part of American history. Girls in the Windows, by Orman Gigley, 1960. This iconic photograph shows 43 women posed in the windows of a New York City brownstone. Taken by Orman Gigley, it became a powerful symbol of beauty, elegance, and fleeting urban charm. Bonneville Salt Flats Speed Trials, 1966. Utah's Bonneville Salt Flats became a playground for speed junkies. In 1966, this vast natural track saw racers push the limits and break land speed records, with nothing but salt and sky around them. Nobuo Fujita's bombing mission, 1942. In a shocking World War II moment, Japanese pilot Nobuo Fujita dropped incendiary bombs over Oregon's forests. It was the only time the U.S. mainland was bombed from the air during the war. Japanese Surrender Ceremony, 1945. September 2nd, 1945. Aboard the USS Missouri, Japan formally surrendered to the Allied forces, officially ending World War II. Historic photographs from that day capture the gravity and relief of this turning point in history. Marlon Brando's Oscar rejection, 1973. In a bold protest, Marlon Brando refused the Best Actor Oscar and sent activist Sachin Littlefeather to decline it on his behalf. It was a powerful stand against Hollywood's portrayal of Native Americans. American Presidents in Candid Moments, 1900. 1990. A rare collection of photographs captures U.S. presidents in relaxed, off-the-cuff moments, laughing, thinking, and just being human. These glimpses show a softer side of some of the most powerful men in history. Back in 1939, the New York World's Fairs was all about the future. This rare photo showed wild architecture, next-level exhibits, and a vibe full of hope. Right before the storm of World War II broke out, you can literally feel the optimism in the air. Then came 1941. The attack on Pearl Harbor? Total chaos. These images capture explosions, panic, destruction, all from a surprise strike that pushed the U.S. into World War II. One second, it was just another Sunday morning. The next, history changed forever. That same year, America kicked its shipbuilding game into overdrive. Liberty ships were being churned out non-stop, massive cargo vessels built fast by regular folks to keep Allied troops supplied. These photos scream grit and teamwork. Fast forward to 1948. A mother sits with a sign, 4 children for sale, and it's not a stunt, it's heartbreak. This haunting photo shows the brutal reality of post-war poverty. A family pushed to the edge, with nowhere left to turn. Now let's rewind even further. Early 1900s. The Wright brothers were out in Kitty Hawk, literally making history with their flying machines. These rare photos show gliders, crashes, and finally, that first powered flight. This is how humans first left the ground. Here's one for the books. 1973. Someone packs an anti-armor shaped charge into a hollowed-out Nerf football. Yeah, that really happened. A real Cold War experiment, equal parts crazy and creative. Jump to early 40s Detroit. This photo shows the Motor City in its prime. Factories booming, workers grinding, and streets buzzing. It was the engine of America's war effort, full of raw energy and purpose. Then we hit 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis. The world was this close to nuclear war. This photo show, U-2 spy plane image, tense White House meetings, and military moves that could have ended everything. It was 13 days of edge-of-your-seat suspense. Back in 1941, something chilling was happening stateside. After Pearl Harbor, anti-Japanese hatred spiked. Chinese Americans were terrified of being mistaken for Japanese, so they wore signs saying, "I'm Chinese." The photos are a hard look at racism and fear during wartime. Want a break from the heavy? Let's cruise through 1950s New York. These vintage pics capture diners, subway scenes, classic fashion, in a city full of life. It's pure nostalgia, like walking through a black and white dream. Now picture this, a cowboy chilling in Texas in 1910, one of the last of his kind. This rare shot marks the end of the Old West era, before highways, phones, and the modern world swallowed it whole. 1944, Saipan Island. A U.S. Marine finds a baby, barely alive, in a cave. It's a haunting moment. The Pacific War was brutal, and this photo reminds us how innocent lives are often caught in the middle of horror. Between 1942 and 1944, Japanese Americans were uprooted from their homes and thrown into internment camps, just because of where their ancestors came from. These historical photos show the fear-driven injustice of wartime America. It wasn't right then, and it still stings now. Let's flip the script. 1930s. Hoover Dam in the making. These shots are epic. Towering concrete, massive machines, and daredevil workers building a marvel during the Great Depression. It's engineering on beast mode. Prohibition era, 1921. Two women dressed sharp with hidden flasks strapped to their legs. Yep, female bootleggers were out here running liquor and breaking rules. These photos show the badass side of women in the underground hustle. Now this one, total shock. 1963. Inside a Dallas police station, Jack Ruby walks up and shoots Lee Harvey Oswald, live on national TV. This photo captured the exact moment America gasped. The man accused of killing JFK, gone in a flash. Then there's the iconic Migrant Mother from 1936. A mom staring off, kids clinging to her shoulders. Dorothea Lange's photo became the symbol of the Great Depression. You can see the pain, strength, and worry in her eyes. It's unforgettable. Right after JFK was assassinated, Lyndon B. Johnson took the oath of office on Air Force One. The photo? Heavy. Grief in the air, Jackie Kennedy beside him in her blood-stained suit. A sudden, solemn shift of power at 30,000 feet. 1981. Outside a hotel in D.C., gunshots ring out. President Reagan's hit. This dramatic photo show. Secret Service diving in, chaos everywhere, and a near miss that could have rewritten history. Finally, a photo that's just dark. 1944. American pilots posing with a Japanese skull. It's real, and it's disturbing. War messes with minds, and this image shows how dehumanization becomes part of the battlefield. History isn't just in textbooks, it's right there in these photos. Moments of pride, of pain, of progress and mistakes. Each frame is like a time machine, and we're lucky they survived to tell their stories. If this journey hit you like it hit me, go ahead and smash that like button, hit subscribe, And tell me in the comments, which one of these images will you never forget?